Have you ever fallen for your love rival? Right now, on the bed of my love rival, screaming his name while deeply flushed and clinging tightly to him. Here's what you need to know if you're just joining me. My name is Ciel. For the past year, I've belonged to a man named Noel, my sponsor, the one who pays for my life. What he actually wants is someone else. A man named Finn Averlane, his white moonlight, the one who got away and came home 5 weeks ago to ruin what was left of my peace. I still don't fully understand when Finn's cruelty started turning into something else. I only know it happened while I wasn't paying attention, which is, I think, the only way it could have happened at all. I woke the morning after the gala with a headache pulsing behind both eyes like a second heartbeat and the distinct, mortifying memory of having fainted directly into Noel's arms in front of half his father's business contacts. I lay there for a long moment deciding whether getting up was worth it, and then I smelled eggs. Noel never cooks, I was sure if it. He did order takeout. I found Finn in the kitchen anyway, sleeves pushed up, entirely too at ease at a stove that wasn't his, in an apartment he had no business being in. "Why are you here?" My voice came out rougher than I meant it to. "Noel's not home." "I know." He didn't turn around. "I'm cooking for him. He mentioned he'd want something when he got back from his morning run." I offered, since I was already coming by. He said it so smoothly I almost believed it was the whole truth, except Noel hadn't mentioned running in months, and there were already 2 plates sitting out on the counter, not one. "That's not an answer for why you're feeding me too, then." "You were standing there looking half dead. It seemed rude not to." He nodded at the counter where a mug, my one mug, the same one I used for everything, sat steaming. "Purely incidental. Don't read into it." "I look that bad?" "Worse. I feel terrible too. If it helps," I said, which wasn't what I meant to say at all. But my head was pounding and my filter hadn't caught up yet. "I noticed. You have a very specific face for it." He finally turned to look at me, and something in his expression shifted. Not the cool, cataloging look he usually gave me, but something closer to amusement, like my misery was mildly delightful to witness. Pale. A little green. Eyes doing that thing where they can't quite focus. "It's a good look on you, honestly. Delicate suits you." "I'm not delicate." "You fainted into a man's arms at a party." "I was drunk." "You're always something," he said, sliding a plate toward me. "Drunk, or tired, or annoyed with me. Never just fine. It's very inconvenient." "Eat." "Ate." I told myself it was only because the eggs smelled good and I hadn't eaten since the gala, and not because some small, humiliating part of me had liked watching him cook in my kitchen like he'd done it before, like it was ordinary. He left before Noel came home that day, same as every time after. At the door he paused, the way he always did now, some fraction of hesitation crossing his face before he smoothed it away. "Feel better," he said, which wasn't an insult, and wasn't quite kindness either, and left me standing in the doorway trying to work out which one had actually hurt more. The message came on a Thursday a week later. "Come down to the lobby now." And I assumed it was Noel and went down half-dressed and irritated, already composing the argument I'd have if he was annoyed about something, and found Finn instead. Leaning against the wall by the elevators, Noel's phone in his hand, no shame whatsoever on his face. "You." "Me." He pocketed the phone. "Borrowed it." He left it on the conference table. "I'm very resourceful when I want to be." I stopped myself too late. "You thought I wanted to insult you." He was already walking toward the door. Gesturing for me to follow like this had been arranged days in advance instead of invented on the spot. "Today I want to feed you instead. Different itinerary. Same outcome. You'll still be annoyed with me by the end of it." He wasn't wrong. He teased me through the entire meal, delighted every time color rose in my face, delighted more when I got genuinely annoyed and he only had to smile to make it worse. "You like this?" I accused. "Watching me get flustered." "I really do," he agreed without an ounce of shame. "It's the most honest you ever look." I didn't know, not then, that he'd already gone to Noel about the contract. I found out on a Sunday, called into the study, Noel sitting very straight behind his desk with the particular composure of a man who had already decided something and wasn't interested in discussing it. I'm ending the arrangement, he said. Effective the end of the month. Why? He didn't answer that directly. He didn't need to. I understood, watching the careful way he avoided saying Finn's name in a sentence that was entirely built around him. Exactly what had happened and exactly why Noel had agreed to it so easily. He wasn't sorry. Noel had never once, in a year, been the kind of man who apologized for decisions he'd made for his own reasons. He simply informed me the way he'd have informed a tenant of a lease ending and slid an envelope across the desk. A number that felt more like an afterthought than compensation, small enough that I understood exactly how little I'd mattered in the calculation. I took it. I didn't cry. I packed the few things that were actually mine into 2 bags, left the rest, the clothes, the shoes, all of it bought with money that had never really been about me, and walked out of that apartment with my chin up and my throat tight and nothing on my face that anyone could have used against me. I cried later. Not there. Not in front of anyone who could have watched it happen. Here is what I had, once the arrangement ended. A small amount of compensation that wouldn't last 2 months. A mother whose hospital bills had never actually been covered by Noel. He'd given me a monthly allowance, spending money, nothing more, and I'd been quietly stretching it to cover her treatments for months already, telling no one how close to nothing I actually had. A sister, 17, who had just been accepted into a university abroad. The kind of opportunity that doesn't come twice, that I would have found a way to pay for if it killed me because I'd promised her years ago that she'd get out of the town we grew up in even if I never did. So I got jobs. 3 of them. Mornings, I opened the cafe on Faro Street at 5:15, apron on before the sun was fully up, pulling shots and wiping down machines for a manager who called me slow twice a week regardless of how fast I moved. That shift ended at 1. By 1:30, I was behind the counter at a convenience store 2 blocks from the house, restocking shelves and ringing up cigarettes for men who never once looked at my face, until 7. At 8, I was at the club on Delane. Not performing, just running drinks between tables in a shirt too thin for how late the nights ran, until close, which most nights meant 2 in the morning. I slept in the gaps. 2 hours some nights, 3 if I was lucky, curled on a mattress on the floor of the cheap little house I'd found. The one with rent so low it barely registered as a bill, that I'd taken without asking why, too exhausted by then to question good luck when it appeared. I sold the gift I bought Noel that I never gave him. The coats, the watch, 2 pairs of shoes I never got to give him after save for a month think I was too cheap to give him compare what he wore. All of it listed online within the first 2 weeks, sold for whatever anyone offered, because a coat that cost more than my rent was worth more as cash than as a reminder of a year I was trying to forget. My hands shook by the 3rd week, not from cold, just from how little I was sleeping. I stopped noticing the shaking after a while. It became just another thing my body did. I told myself it was manageable. I told myself that every single night, walking the 15 minutes home from the club with my feet aching and my eyes barely staying open, because saying it out loud was the only thing keeping it true. It rained the night I stopped being able to keep saying it. I remember the club's lights first, blurring gold behind me as I stepped out into the wet dark. I remember the rain soaking through my thin shirt within the first minute, cold enough to make my teeth ache. I remember thinking, with the strange flat calm of someone too tired to be afraid, that my legs didn't feel entirely like mine anymore. I don't remember deciding to stop walking. I remember the ground arriving faster than it should have, the cold of the pavement seeping through before I'd even registered falling, and somewhere above the rain and the ringing in my ears, a voice, panicked in a way I'd never once heard it before. Ciel, Ciel, look at me. You're freezing. How long have you been out here? I've been waiting 3 hours, why didn't you? Finn's voice, Finn's arms, gathering me up out of the wet street like I weighed nothing at all. His own jacket coming off and around my shoulders before I could even lift my head to answer him. I wanted to tell him I was fine. I wanted to tell him it was manageable, the way I'd been telling myself for weeks. Nothing came out except a small, humiliating sound, and then the rain and his voice, and the cold, all went very far away at once.
Don't forget to like, share, and send this to your family and friends. Oh, wait, your family and friends don't know you're into boys' love story yet? Do they? If they don't, please subscribe.